And I only saw a little minuscule part of it.
Yeah, he has more relations.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 26th meeting of the Abington Finance Committee. Tonight, we have a couple of things on the agenda. We have finished our meetings with department heads. We have an updated draft version of the budget from the town manager, who we will talk to about that. We have are they draft or are they approved?
They are still drafted. Selectmen are meeting a week from tomorrow night to finalize it. It's posted by the 8th, which is the next regularly scheduled meeting, but it'll be posted during the day, so that's why it's a special meeting.
Yep.
There are a couple of warrant articles that they're still deliberating on. None of them are actually fiscal articles. So nothing that presumably alter the course of your deliberations, but it won't be finalized until the actual meeting on the 4th.
Okay, so we have draft versions of the special town meeting warrant and the annual town meeting warrant. One of the things that we will do is set the date for our meeting where we will invite any of the petitioners to come and discuss with us the articles on either of the warrants. But first item on the agenda tonight is in fact the fiscal year 2018 budget. And I apparently printed it incorrectly on the agenda, saying that we were going to talk about last year's budget. We are not.
Can I just,
You can.
oh, I'll wait till we get there.
All right. Waiting. I'd like to invite our esteemed town manager to
The only thing that is outstanding, so to
updates.
speak, from still to be tweaked, as I mentioned, I believe in the prior memo to the Finance Committee, is we are in the process of still finalizing the COA salary line item. The director's salary, we're still trying to finalize. We've done some surveying of area director salaries, and as you also may know, that position is in our manager's supervisory union, and I'm meeting with the leadership of that group this coming week. So I will be proposing a modest adjustment to that. Will not in any way substantially alter the budget process. And I do apologize for the lateness of that, but again, will not have any, obviously, measurable increase on the alteration of this process. Other than that, I do not anticipate, at least in terms of a recommendation from me and the financial team, at this point, any other changes to the document that's in front of you.
And in the latest version of the budget that you have given us, we are balanced?
Yes, that has a 0.
Yes.
So technically, any change will make that 0 a negative, but that will just simply be a technical change to the raise and appropriate number, which again is immaterial, obviously. But we're presumably a couple $1,000 that will be dealt with in terms of estimated receipts, but we are right there.
Do we have questions right away for
Yes.
town manager? Barbara?
How do we close the gap?
Again, it would just be a minor alteration of our current.
No.
I think
How
she
did
can-
you close
How
the
did we
gap?
close the $80,000 gap from last time?
When you say the last time, the last draft was, the last date we were talking, I'm sorry, the last time we talked.
What, yes.
Uh,
Last
that
time we
was-
talked,
again,
there was
this
a,
estimated, our estimated receipts have simply been updated as we track them over the course of time.
Okay.
So, again, local receipts, primarily a motor vehicle excise, is the area that we've adjusted.
So you raised your estimation.
Correct.
And that was based on,
This has been
Current
based on
year.
historical data
Yep.
and current to-date receipts and projections. And as you can see, I'm sorry. Yeah, and our commitment to date is well in line with, no concerns at all about collection of revenue. When you consider that our free cash, very healthy free cash this year, again, our collections, and our free cash, although our free cash was $1.9 million, understanding that, 700, almost 800,000 of that was, I'd say, truly one-time money, having to do with the sewer betterment, closeout of sewer betterment funds. We still had a very healthy free cash of in excess of $1 million. Our revenue estimates have been very, very solid. I don't want to say they haven't been hyper-conservative, but they've been, we're not concerned about our revenue estimates. It's not a concern. So,
Sean?
Can we get a soft copy of this? I know we had asked.
I'm sorry, what?
A soft copy. Can I get a soft copy?
Digital
Soft
copy.
Oh,
Of
digital
the budget?
copy? I'm
I
sorry.
know that I asked for it last
Do you want to
time.
translate the
Well, the real world terms, yeah, I'll go back to the 20th century.
I will be happy to email a copy of the spreadsheet to you, the chairman.
Well, me less concerned. I'm certain the chairman can get it. He has a couple of statisticians who have to make sure they can do their job.
I will
Yep.
do that this evening before
Much
I
appreciated.
get home, so that we will continue to forget to do that.
Other questions regarding the draft budget at this
Sure.
stage?
Well, only because you asked the question in that way. We had last time we had met, we had chatted with the Joint Waterworks, and series of email exchanges that it brought to light just additional information. So I think it's a supplemental question as it relates to the large benefit costs that existed. More to the point, the health insurance. I had asked a question with regards to how does the Joint Waterworks cost share compare to the rest of the bargaining units in the community, since it seems to be a very generous benefit, where the town is burdening, or at least its portion, it's burdening a large cost.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you at the moment. That's a town accountant's charge that was put forth. I would check on that, Sean, and I don't have an answer at the moment.
I appreciate that. It was just, as I had raised it before, it's just a number that jumped off the page.
Yes,
Yes.
and all of us.
Yeah, of course. And it was, I think that, computationally, it was 78-22% is what they're,
Yes.
How do I get a drive?
Give Lisa a minute to settle in. We're talking about the draft budget currently. Seeing what questions people have for Rick about the budget itself. We've talked about how the gap was closed from the last time, and it was largely in the estimation of town receipts and money coming in, specifically excise tax.
And in fairness, until the recent commitment of the board of excise, just a few weeks ago, that's when we get a good sense of, obviously, how much we are actually collecting, but that can give a sense of how much we're getting.
Are there any other questions before we move on from the budget? There being none?
So you're gonna vote to approve our recommendation right now? I'm kidding.
We'll get there.
Plenty of time to do that.
We actually have less than a month. So, town meeting, for those who are not aware, is, I believe it's May 22nd, Monday.
But we need our
We
recommendations.
need our recommendations
10 days?
10 days before, I believe.
10 days you need to post
So
it on the
between
website.
So by,
this meeting and next meeting
yeah,
is what we have for time.
yep. So get any questions out while you got it. All right. Moving on, we have our draft warrant items. They were sent out. Are there any questions? We'll start with the special town meeting warrant.
Can you hand me a copy of the special? I have the annual. Thank you.
Would like me to explain any of these?
How come the unpaid bills for prior years are so large? Like a Verizon bill, what's the monthly bill for a fax line? That almost seems like it's a year's worth of bills that are unpaid,
I was questioning the fax line one myself.
as well
It
as the
does seem-
telephone bill.
Does seem like a lot for a fax line.
You know, I was prepared to be honest with you, answer the really big ones.
Oh, we'll get to the big.
I would feel better getting, I know that.
And what's in,
Those were submitted by Wayne, for the fax and the telephone bill. I actually have answers for the other ones, but I have answers for the smaller ones.
what's inclusive of the telephone bill? Is it just the power for a phone line, or is it cell phone bills, or what's rolled up
Now,
into?
well, the Verizon, the fax line specifically, would be, for some of the, some of the alarm systems that come into the building as well. So, again, this is handled by Wayne, our IT gentleman, so Wayne,
Because the fax line is like, my thought is like it's the fax machine, and that's usually like
we only have one.
$39.99.
There was this machine down there, a fax machine too on the first floor. Okay, so we have two fax machines specifically. As well, I believe this fax machine comes to the building department too. Three fax machines in the building.
Could it also include possibly the maintenance?
Well,
But
fax
isn't-
line is a fax. I mean, whatever, we'll get the details, but, and we were talking like $120 a month, so to me, that means that a fax bill hasn't been paid in
Yeah.
2 years.
That's a situation where, let me get you an answer rather than speculate.
That's fine.
Let me get you an
Thank you.
answer. Yes, I know.
Do we need 3? Do we need 3 fax lines?
Well, I would say every
The answer
department needs a
is,
fax.
well, is,
I don't use them anymore.
because sometimes it's a privacy issue, it's the ones let me get you an answer.
Do you want to explain the big
The
ones?
first one, the public services, this was basically, our trash hauler simply didn't bill us for trash at the end of FY 2016, simply didn't bill us at a time of year for trash bins, the shipment of trash bins, at the end of the fiscal year, until it was too late. And, hence, they've had to wait a whole year to get paid, so. And we would have had enough money in the fiscal year budget to actually pay them too, so that's, so unfortunately, they've been out of money for a number of, for a long time. The second, one is, this was for the upgrade, the light efficiency lighting upgrades that we do with the town hall, library, and the COA. We had signed a contract for an on-bill, reduction payment, and it's supposed to come out on bill over about 7 years. And then after the fact, we were informed that the library was eligible for that, which needless to say, made us very happy. So we informed them that, well, that's all fine and good, but we're just going to have to wait until we get to the town meeting so we can pay you. That was a nice project, but we can't pay you because we don't have the money. So,
Can you,
I'm sorry, so basically all LED retrofits for the entire library is what that was
And what were, they weren't eligible for,
For the on-bill reduction, over, like for these, all the lights in this building, we retrofitted, we're paying back over approximately 5 to 6 years, the energy savings. Instead of paying it paying for the retrofit project all at one time.
but, so why wouldn't the library be eligible?
For whatever reason, through, I don't know why exactly they weren't eligible for it through National Grid. They were supposed to be eligible, we signed the agreement, and then after the fact, we told them a particular institution wasn't eligible.
So the,
We weren't happy about it. We weren't going to get
Did they
it.
send you something saying why you're not eligible?
I don't have to give you a money, but we had, wasn't a nice conversation about it.
I figured
Basically,
it
it's
wouldn't
like, if
be.
you wanna wait 8 months to get paid, fine.
so the 21,000 here is for trash barrels, right? New ones? And then the 20,
That's
That was
for,
Actually, that was
Dumpsters
for
to be
barrels as well as for hauling. We also have an agreement for pickup at various locations, the school, as well as some various condominium sites that the town also, we have an agreement with. And so it's not just, with the public way services, so curbside collection, so it's a combination of some equipment as well as,
and the condos pay you though, right? Pay us?
there's actually a couple.
Why don't we get,
This goes back several years, Peter, there's
Okay.
There's a couple, units that for whatever reason were grandfathered under an old contract.
It was like 5
how
years
long are we gonna
ago.
have to
Prior
do
to my
that?
time, sir, but so, it's an annual contract, but basically curbside collection contract, included, schools and a couple of other complexes. So there's a combination of some equipment that, the town purchased, as well as some, adjunct curbside collection piece under our main contract, that they just. they
Billed
didn't
late.
bill us for. So,
And the 20 grand on the second page is for more barrels, right?
on the second page, that's actually in the transfer, in the current fiscal year, just every year transfer.
Okay.
So, and I will get answers for these, for the Verizon fax bill and the telephone bill from them.
All right, not to beat the trash to death, but,
Oh, go ahead,
it is trash.
on the first page,
yes.
yes,
So it's a bill from last year.
it's a bill from FY 16.
So we,
It was not sent to us in time for us to pay in FY 16.
During FY 16.
okay, so we
So we owe the money.
hadn't budgeted for it, though.
No,
had
We had budgeted for it, but then when we
But the
turned our money
money
back
went
in at
back
the
into
end,
free cash.
and now they, okay, thank you. That makes it a lot clearer for me.
And the 1,100 was an arbitration bill that goes back, actually, I believe the one that was, an arbitrator's bill that was ever paid, for a labor dispute. So, some point,
This is that point.
the patient arbitrator.
Are we ready to move on past Article 1? For Article 4, I distinctly remember us discussing that we were paying off completely the 2015 snow and ice removal last year. Was I incorrect in that memory?
I remember.
I have a recollection of that as well.
How is there still $74,320 left to pay?
Your memory must have failed.
I thought that we paid off, I thought that we had used free cash to pay off both the FY 2015 and 2016 snow and ice removal budgets last year.
have my other book with me.
Because you'd be calling the town accountant incorrect. I would not do that.
Yeah, did you say 15 and 16?
Yes.
17.
No, it's 17 and 15.
Yeah, but you said it was 15.
I said last year.
We paid off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are paying offset both, like to have a clear snow and ice removal.
This will clear, this will be the last of hopefully never too.
Certainly not like it did in fiscal year
So
2015.
so if Matt is incorrect, or if Matt's memory failed him, then we
the
deferred
first
the snow and ice deficit from 2015?
A portion of it.
Yes, for 3 years.
And we-
We're allowed for up to 5 years.
Okay, I don't remember that. that's something I
we-
would have remembered.
And we did not
We did not
defer from 2016. But we deferred a relatively small portion of the 2015 snow and ice
We
removal.
deferred equal pieces for 15, 16, and now 17.
Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $336,788 from certified free cash to cover the fiscal year 2016 snow and ice deficit of $262,469 and the fiscal year 2015 snow and ice deficit of $74,319, or take any other action relative thereto.
So it was one piece of the multi-year deficit. One piece of
So in 2015, we deferred, how much? What's the full amount that we deferred in 2015?
It sounds like we deferred somewhere in the vicinity of 150,000. Split into two, 74,000 and change.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
That's,
multiply that by 3.
So we paid 74,319 of it in,
Last year's special town.
Remarkable how similar the main piece is.
I think last year the total was 300.
336,788,
336, so it was 200 something and
262,469 for 15, or for 16, and 74,319 for 15.
Actually, one of the ones we don't budget.
we've gone around that
that's.
several
yes.
times.
Yes, indeed.
We did a
could you-
deferral of 3 years. I think back at that point, there was an amount that had been paid, and then there was a balance that had been split between, and then three additional years. Of the 5 available under the statute, under the amount available by the state legislature that year, 5 years, I think the town opted to defer, out 3 years.
Could you follow up afterward with the exact details, the exact amounts of the deferrals and?
And how it
your-
was broken out.
How it was broken out.
The
and
deferral was paid. If this is the third
And-
in 3
Right.
payments of the deferral.
Confirm this is the last of those payments.
I will actually have, I'll have Sue break that down.
So did we skip to 4, because we were
We
good
can
with
go
2
back
and
to,
3?
we
I
can go
mean,
back
they're
to 2 and
just-
3 if we
just
want for those.
housekeeping and just-
Oh,
It
like-
looks like it was 472,977. In 2015 was the snow deficit pending FEMA's approval for the deferral.
Could you repeat that? amount, please?
400, hold on. 472,977 is what I have on the budget from 2015, that we did in 2015, excuse me.
And if you divide that by 3,
Snow expenditures, $872,911, approximately 473 above 5-year average, is what the note says.
Didn't we get some money from FEMA, though?
Yeah, so there's probably pending monies from FEMA that paid off a portion of that.
Thanks, Mike. Going back to Articles 2 and 3, as Barbara's asking, those are amounts that we generally try to put
it's
into.
the percentage of the free cash
stabilization.
that you're,
The caveat is that even though free cash is larger, the percentage wouldn't necessarily reflect the amount of free cash. In that, we're recommending that, last year, the town voted to purchase this property on the level it's weighted at $575,000.
Mhm.
Rather than amortize that money, we're recommending that because we've got such a healthy free cash that the town, that we actually just pay that off this year outright and borrow it. Well, that would obviously lower the amount of free cash we have available to put into these types of accounts. But rather than put money in the bank while we're borrowing money, we receive a good sense either, so. So we're hoping that people will agree with that rationale. So if people don't, then obviously we could put a huge chunk in stabilization, but to do that while we're borrowing money, assume people would probably agree with that.
does that come up, where, that article comes up in the annual?
That will come up, and
Yes,
that's
here.
part of the annual town meeting.
Breakdown here.
On page, you'll see it actually, lots on page 2, in the capital plan. Actually, the very top of page 2, actually, the 579,000. One of the recommendations for use of free cash is to pay off the debt on the loan. So that's why when all is said and done, we're recommending $200,000 to be put in stabilization this year.
And the percentage that we try to put into stabilization each year,
The percentage is 60% of free cash. And borrowing money,
So that, just so that the free cash number was 1.9?
yes, a little bit, yeah, rounded up.
Right.
rounded up.
Let's say 1.8 then. Let's call it 1.8. The free cash was 1.8.
or in the document that you sent us, it was 1.956315.
Oh, 1.9.
Back to 1.9. I don't have white out, or an erasable pen for that
You
matter.
did
But
take
one-
2 pieces of
I
paper
did,
from me. so-
1.9. And you, it was 800,000 that was going to,
Approximately 8.
there was 800,000 right off the top that was going to,
I mean, the money to pay off the property on Glenwood's Way?
no. So,
What's the 800,000?
Well, if you take away, for instance, just paying off the snow and ice deficit, which is some of those funds,
is that what brought it down? What brought it down to like $1 million? We just had this
well,
conversation.
if you, well, I'm not gonna say it doesn't bring it down, but a piece that when I referenced earlier, that it made up a significant portion of that.
Right, that's what I was
So it didn't bring it down, it made up a significant portion of that was a closeout of sewer
Okay.
betterment overpayments.
That's right.
Gotcha.
It was a combination of which didn't bring it down, it kind of made it up. And my reference was when I talk about free cash, is always thinking of it as one-time money, but some of it really is.
Some of that
it
1.9.
Is recurring, but this is real one-time money, closeout of the sewer overpayments.
And that was around
That was
800,000.
approximately, slightly under 700,000 change, so. So that's why we thought this was a real good opportunity to get rid of some of the, get rid of that debt now, instead of amortizing that project.
But nonetheless, all still free cash.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, if you take the free cash and look at things like paying off the snow debt, before you start looking at assigning percentages to.
Right, well, that's what I was trying to,
Yep.
that's what I was trying to back out.
Yes.
And then get down, and then look at what the percentages, once you back out of those things that were priorities, and
Sean?
Not necessarily a question, but just kind of a point of order. We spent all the free cash, which is fine. That's identified very clearly in the two that we have here. I rely on the Board of Selectmen and the town manager to set the fiscal policy for, and implement the fiscal policy for the community. I would just argue that my sewer bill paid for that $800,000, so it's not necessarily free cash. And as a consequence, we still should be applying good logic, align one-time costs with one-time revenues, which is what I believe is what you tried to say with regards to the Glenowitz property. One-time expense, one-time revenue, get it off the books.
Yeah.
That's what I would stop. So in support of what you were trying to say, or would do, at least as I understand it, 1.9 less the $580,000, and then follow the DOR, the town's established policy, either by past practice or whatnot. That should be associated with stabilization.
right.
Move forward. I just want to make sure that we all paid your sewer bills.
Yes.
So we talk about sewer betterments, you already paid for this. So this isn't all of a sudden, wow, we just got a scratch ticket and won a lot of money.
Right.
So these are already taxes you paid. So just be mindful of that, and I think it's smart to pay for the property up front. Well, you can. But I would just, my personal opinion is that I disagree, that we should only be putting $200,000 into stabilization.
And that was,
That's just my personal opinion, not
Question.
that of anyone else.
so and I see that, looking at the free cash, there is another early debt payoff. Is that the one that we had already discussed
Yeah,
in
that's.
earlier meetings?
That's correct. That's the one.
Can you refresh me?
Yeah, what debt was that again?
That's the debt on the Memorial Arch. Primarily, most of that is on the one
So we've a little bit lapsed over into the annual town meeting. Do we want to, does anyone have any questions on the transfers before we really dig into the annual, going back to the special? All right. So the annual town meeting. Article 1, the budget, we've discussed.
Before we, just because, I was at the selectmen's meeting Monday night, and, were there any ones early on that, just so we could, there's a bunch of ones that they were not necessarily keeping on. There was ones that they had decided to not keep on the,
Yeah, those
So
are,
can you-
those have been removed from the draft you have in front of you tonight.
oh, probably not in front of mine, because this is from the other night.
Oh, well, that's.
Thank you. All right.
Check this again.
There's still a few articles that are up for.
That they, right.
considerations that they're being done upstairs in the stretch code and a couple zoning articles.
It's like 19 and 20. Okay.
Items that probably,
I'll remember it when we get there. I'm sure Michael will remember it. One of us will remember. Sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't know if
Nope.
there was anything early on that we could kind of,
Kind of get rid of since it's not on
yeah,
there
no,
anymore.
yeah, just figured that we didn't need to cover.
Why are we air conditioning a cabin in the Grove?
Actually, I've had a similar thing I wanted to ask about that, because just so we're all clear what the cabin in the Grove is, that is the Girl Scout house at Island Grove. And why are we gonna heat and air condition that? Like,
well,
where
it's
did
not
that
girls'
come?
clubs, it's
Well,
actually
it-
Park and Recreation.
It
and
was
DPW.
previously called the Girl Scout house, and that's what the, most of the town calls it.
Correct, correct.
And, I mean, why are we going to
We don't
heat
wanna
it
be
and air condition?
discriminatory, that's all, that's pretty.
I was just identifying it for the television audience.
HVAC,
Why?
Why?
so that it can be utilized, for a minimum of 3 seasons if the town chooses.
Well, because we have the camp building, which is adjacent to that building that is heated, but it isn't air conditioned. I don't even think it is heated. I think it just has electricity and bathrooms in it. So why are we going to install heating and air conditioning in the cabin in the Grove all of a sudden, which isn't present in other buildings that we have at Island Grove, that we currently do use for the citizens? Because I know for a fact that where the building that is directly across from that is
Where the
where we
camp
Eager
kids-
Beaver camp
yeah,
kids are,
it's
and
not-
they go in there during the summer on rainy days, there's no AC in that building. And I guess, so why are we preferencing the cabin in the Grove to have AC put into that, or heat put into that? Because then that also brings up the question of where are we gonna get the funds to maintain it and to run the electricity for it?
Oil and.
Because I know the electricity for the pool and the electricity for the Eager Beaver camp building is funded by their revolving fund. So,
Presumably, user fees would be charged for people using that building too, which would part of the same revolving fund.
well, we'd also have to maintain access to it. So we would have to plow it in the winter if we're gonna have it open in the winter and have it ready to go earlier than we do for the camp.
Well, again, I'm not sure, I don't know if it would be feasible to have this facility open full 4 seasons, I'm not sure. To the extent that it could be 3 season plus facility, that would still be to be determined. So, again,
My question to that would be, is that I don't know if that's something that even like CPA, so, you know,
I guess who's requesting it?
maybe
Yeah,
it might be more of a
Where
CPA
did,
thing.
where did that request come from specifically?
where specifically?
Yes, or who?
I'd have to probably defer to Ms. Jameson. to see
Okay.
Exactly where that particular warrant article came from.
And why do we need to pay 21 grand for a lawnmower?
Because Lorraine, Mass.
Are they that much?
lawnmowers are expensive. That's why. significant DPW riding lawnmower, it's a significant piece of machinery.
Is there a way, and
It's
this,
not your John Deere for the backyard.
this is probably off topic a little bit, but is there a way to look at for future budgets, like, while heating and air conditioning in the cabin in the Grove probably isn't a priority when the Park and Rec building where the camp is should probably be condemned.
I'm sorry,
But
Frankie,
where the Park and Rec Eager Beaver building probably needs to be condemned and we're spending money putting heating and air conditioning, but that aside, I think that the cabin in the Grove is a great way to better our community. Abington is a nice town that should be a little bit nicer of a community. When can we start looking at, like, department budgets where if we're cutting out paying cell phone bills for admins and we're cutting out paying gas and vehicles for admins, if we're cutting out all that cost, then we can spend this kind of money, and to pay a heating and air conditioning bill for $90 a month isn't going to be a big deal. So in a union environment, in a union community, where are those contracts? Because why is an executive assistant having a cell phone bill 100% paid for, when if you take that $100 a month for a cell phone bill, because nobody uses a cell phone 100% for business. If you take that $1,200 a year, that from one department, that's a quarter of something that's going to better the community. So then if we're putting heating and air conditioning in the cabin in the Grove, then it's not a $6,000 expense, isn't that big of a deal. So where is the opportunity, and when is the opportunity to cut out some of that wasteful use to be able to apply it to this sort of use to make the community better? And when Abington Celebrates tries to put on these events for us that we're using the cabin in the Grove, then it's not as big of a deal and a big of a hit to the community.
I wouldn't mind having a specific conversation about a particular situation you're talking about. I'm not sure what clerical assistant you're talking about.
I'm not talking about anything specific, it just seemed,
You've got to fully, what individual you're talking about.
I'm just using loose examples.
Okay, yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying, I'm a little off topic, but,
No
no,
offense, but it sounds like an extremely loose example, because
no, I'm
I'm
just,
sure as a fully funded, I mean, even I don't know a fully funded zoning officer.
right, and,
As an example.
right, so that's why I'm just wondering, where, but I just think that if we looked at some of it, if we drilled down a little bit more into budgets, and how does that happen, I guess? Because then I think that if we have these expenses come up, then it's not as big of a hit.
The question is what priority are you trying to achieve? If there's a particular priority you're trying to achieve, then we can focus on trying to achieve that. I mean, I don't think we back into the achievement by, you know,
Right, but that's what I'm saying, that's why when things like this that really are low cost, they seem like a big hit, but,
I don't think anybody's married to, say, $6,000 HVAC cabin in the woods. No one's married to that.
right.
Per se. You know, I think that's a nice thing to be able to do. It would probably generate more activity. It would probably generate some more user fees for that particular purpose. It would go into the revolving fund, the Department of Public Works, Park and Rec, so to speak. Is anybody leaking? If that's not something that, if the finance committee isn't going to be supportive of that, is that anything that is going to be disagreement over? I mean, you know, I'm just.
Stabilization fund it is. Thank you very
You
much.
know, I mean, really, these aren't things that we fight over. These aren't things we fight
No, but I think that there also is a way to better the community, and these are the small things that you need to do to make the town.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a nice opportunity to get that use out of a facility that hasn't been, that was essentially dormant for a very long time, or underutilized, you know, at best, yeah. So,
Cindy?
It's gonna be me again going out on the limb. The lift at the Frollo, $85,000, with it's handicapped accessible. There's no students there, so what is this all about? I'd just like to know.
And we hope very much that that number can be significantly reduced by the time we get to town meeting. But we don't know if it's time to do that. The school department is, intends to apply for a waiver to be able to just restore the existing chair lift, but there's no guarantee that that's a waiver that will be approved. for something in, for a fraction of that cost, they can be able to maintain that as, handicap accessible in its current fashion. But right now, it's hard to just, find what the right number is. That's the problem. But we hope to get,
Is the current chairlift not working?
it is not.
It won't hold beyond a certain weight limit. So if you have a,
And can I,
what do you call it? Yeah, computerized wheelchair.
and then what's going on the second floor of that school?
Offices, it would be,
Offices.
For,
offices
The
through
school.
the
School
school
and what's on the
department.
School
first
department
floor?
office.
There'll be
It'll,
whole administration.
they said.
That whole
they-
school is
they
gonna
would-
be used just for administrative
Yes.
offices? How many, so,
And possibly other things, but not for school.
It still has to be handicap accessible.
the building is, it's got the ramp to get in. So we do have handicap accessibility into that school.
The
So-
goal is to have, the problem is we don't want to have to go an entire year without addressing and upgrading the existing facility. We don't know what the number is. The goal is not to have to spend $85,000. We don't know what the appropriate number is. I would feel much more comfortable having Peter Schaefer speak to this with the finance committee, represent it personally. But he and Felicia have been dealing actively with trying to find the right compromise.
And they did discuss it when they were here, and they were very much in the process of trying to figure it out and had not figured it out at the time that they were here.
They are exploring also, appropriate grant programs for this too, but there's potential pitfalls with that open up other concerns that may open up other doors and expenses by going down the road of grants that make you have to deal with the entire realm of handicap challenges in the entire building to address issues, any issues with the building.
So some of those grants are like you would need to update the bathrooms, you would need to make the access
Correct. So-
throughout.
So it's a challenge, so finding the right number is a challenge, but to not have something that will allow us to move forward this fiscal year. The goal is not to spend, hopefully not to spend $85,000, but to be able to guarantee that we can do this project for, 30 or 1,000 or 25,000. We don't know that for certain. So, and I feel more comfortable having Peter and or Felicia represent where they stand with their research on this. But this is at the moment what they've requested to address this. And it's hard to suggest that we can go another fiscal year without at least having some funds available to address it. It isn't a legitimate-
And I don't believe that just what they, like the ramp to get into the school, once you're then in the doorway, you have to go up the stairs. So it has, it's not like you go up the ramp outside and then you're in the building and you could stay on the first floor. Once you enter the building, that's as far as you can go, then you either have to go up the stairs or down the stairs to get to that first floor. So it's not handicap accessible, just by the ramp out front.
The worst case, if the worst case scenario is there's $85,000 available after this town meeting and only, $30,000 has to be expended after there's research and perhaps a waiver is sought to upgrade the existing chairlift. And there's $50,000 that's not necessary that gets closed out again to free cash. It's not a terrible situation, but it's a dilemma at the moment. I acknowledge it's a dilemma.
So, would this go in the same place as the existing chairlift, or is there, if you can't get anywhere from where the existing is, what's the point?
I think what they said when they were here was that they were trying to find the cheaper of the options, and I believe
To go in
that,
the same place as existing?
I think they were exploring various different places that would,
so how it would still make the building accessible.
Beyond just getting in the front door?
Yeah.
Next item is 225,000 for books. Why wasn't that in the budget for the school? And kind of getting around it?
Well, I don't know if it's getting around it, but it's a significant purchase, obviously.
Right.
It's not in the budget necessarily every year. So
Just, you know,
I mean, it's a semantics question. I don't, some would prefer that it be an operating budget issue, some would suggest it's a capital issue. It's a,
so I think,
it's a philosophical question. I don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
yeah, I think
But it's
it's,
part of a compromise, in reaching a budget solution this year, no question about it.
I think it's a little bit along the lines, looking at other items on there as the police cruisers, which the
We know we
police
have to replace
department
every
has to
year.
replace every year, but we generally do out of capital.
And you can look at it, everyone kind of has a different opinion, on, some people say it should
I
be a
think-
capital item, some people say it should be a budget item, and you can kind of go back and forth on those.
There's no question that, if the school department were trying to absorb, this kind of expense in the budget this year, it would be a significant hardship. That, there's no question about it. And we'd be having different discussions right now. This room would be a lot more full.
To take a broader look at the capital item, and to pull in Sean's point earlier from, what are we spending of free cash and what are we putting towards stabilization? If we typically look at free cash and put, was it 60% towards stabilization? And if we subtract the payment for the property that we talked about, just right from the top before we even look at the 60%, we're still looking in the vicinity of around 1.3 million of free cash.
I would also suggest you probably want to see.
The snow and ice, which would take us to somewhere around, I believe it was, I actually have it here because you provided that very nicely. That takes us to somewhere just north of 900,000 of free cash. And from the looks of this, we're spending more like 70% of it and putting away closer to 25% of it, or 30% of it. Does not seem like the breakdown that we typically aim for.
No.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
So 1.9 of free cash, less the $800,000 of sewer betterments is 1.1 million. So if you then take out the $400,000 from that to take care of the snow and ice, that gives you $700,000. So the delta between what would have been or should have been reserved for free cash, pardon me, for stabilization rather, from free cash, would be $220,000 difference compared to what we are putting in versus what we're not. And the books are $225,000. I know it's not hard to find the money.
Yeah.
I think that the trail is there.
So,
I think it becomes a matter of town policy and opinion, but that's my, when I read it, that's what I saw, that's what my little notes had indicated, saying those are the arrows that I identified. I know, I believe, I feel as though I know where all the cash is going, where it came from, where it's going. Just a comment, not a question.
Questions go with prongs.
yes.
I had no question, I had a comment. It's okay if you don't want to hear it.
No, where's the delta there?
$1,000, so if you have 700K times 60%, that's 420, you put 200K in, that leaves 220 that didn't go in, the books are 225. Add in the cabin in the woods, you got that $6,000, we're at the same number. That's how I see it. I could be completely wrong, I have lots of glasses on.
Did we have other questions or other statements?
I think one compromise is a lot
Can I go back to number 1 for a minute? Can we get off there, because we kind of skipped over the budget. Attachment A is gonna be with the warrant. Is it again gonna just be department salary, expense, or is there gonna be a breakdown for the townspeople to actually see what's making up salaries and expenses? There used to be kind of like a full budget in the warrant, so that if anybody had a question on a particular line item, they could ask. It doesn't mean it was gonna change, but they might have a question and they would ask the department head what made up, I don't know.
Staples.
Staples,
yeah,
thank you, like
paper
office
clips.
supplies.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it could be, but now the last couple of years I've had I've heard comments like, isn't it amazing that nobody asks any questions about the budget on the town floor? And my only comment I can say is because the townspeople aren't given the information to really make an informed decision. They're given just salary,
High
expense,
level.
salary, expense. So they don't know, I don't think, really what to look to ask for, and it used to always be included. So that we could go, and it was almost page by page, let's take page, whatever, and it's gonna go from selectmen to sunshine. Does anybody have a question on any line item here? No, we could move to the next one, but at least it was there for them to see. And be able to ask a question if they had one. Maybe they won't have any, but it just seems like it was more transparent than having just summary numbers. So I'm just wondering if that's gonna be on Exhibit A, or is it just gonna be,
I know, 20-something years, it's been a former municipal budget. I've always seen this salary and expense line for every department.
Yeah, they did, it wasn't
Not in the
this.
warrant, but there's been
It was
handouts.
handouts.
yeah,
I think,
but there's been a
in prior
handout, but I don't
years.
remember seeing those handouts,
It wasn't last year.
and it wasn't
No,
the
it
year
hasn't
before.
been in several years.
Yeah, for the
I know
last several
that.
years, it's been like a
I know
handout
that.
of what the budget is, like what we get, so that people have a chance to kind of look through it and kind of
What's
see.
available, you know, what's the actual, what's on the warrant, and what's the attachment versus what might be available, as you say, as a handout, or might be available on, websites or et cetera, is different than what's being voted on, per se. So that's.
But it's
that's-
closest to 5 years ago, they handed that out.
Mhm. Yeah, and people
I-
did
I
have some
definitely-
questions.
I definitely remember
I think
During-
we had handouts. I think too, during some of the recession, we were looking so closely at everything, and we wanted the townspeople to be as informed as possible and why some of these cuts were the way that they were. So I think it was, there were a lot of handouts that gave the black and white, so that they could really look at and see, like, okay, well, if you, because at the time too, it was if someone's going to stand up on town floor and say, I say we take it out of this, we wanted to be able to show them, where in this would you take it from? You know what I mean? Because if you take it from there, you,
Yeah,
You
I
leave
distinctly,
this,
I
you're gonna
distinctly
get-
remember
Town meeting
attending.
doesn't take money out of Staples to put it into pencils.
no, but,
That's not what town meetings do.
no. It was,
It's
I-
just more.
Just
The point was for transparency
It's more
for the
transparent.
voters who are looking at the budget. I remember going to town meeting as a resident at the time, and seeing budgets where there were detailed breakdowns of 3/5 of positions in the school department and 4/5 of positions, and this is where cuts were coming from, and this is how we were making the ends meet for the budget. And there was a more granular, not as granular a level as we see in these documents, but
Oh, I
a
was like
more
20
granular
pages.
level of detail than what has been printed over the last few
Well,
years.
I think I guess there's a difference between, say, what is actually part of the attachment A versus what is being voted on per se, versus what's available for review and distribution as additional review information.
I think,
We can talk about what we want to be available for handouts.
yeah, I think if we can provide more granular detail as additional handouts for people, I think that would be preferable.
Not for the purposes of people taking paper clips from the highway department and giving them to
Yeah.
the police station,
Yeah.
but just for the purpose of saying, like, this is what, especially, I know when I first started on the finance committee, that lots of times I'd see stuff and I wouldn't understand it, and, what makes up that number? Kind of giving people all right, well,
There's a difference in terms of what you're voting on.
right, and you're not voting on any of that.
Right.
More for informational,
So
just for.
differentiating between what the attachment A is versus what the handouts might be,
Yeah,
we can consider what we want that to be.
and I think, Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're more concerned in this discussion about what the handouts would be and what the,
Yeah, so that
what
people
the
can actually,
information
yeah.
that's being
Yeah.
supplemented, the supplemental
Books it says
information.
set forth in the detailed budget handout, so
Yeah.
that 2 pages in a detail.
Other questions for, back to the budget, or to Article 1? Article 2 is the town clerk salary line item. 3 we have gone over with the capital plan. Article 4 is the revolving funds. I believe there was one change
Yes.
to the revolving funds.
Yes, the one is a format change in that it is in the form of a bylaw pursuant to the Municipal Modernization Act, which I'm not quite clarified yet, the form of a bylaw. It actually doesn't have to be revoked every year unless there's changes to it. The only thing that's substantive is actually, there's 2 substantive changes on the selection page. One, J and K. J, the revolving fund for the COA is from 10 to 15. In the event that there are more events at the facility, allows for more activity to go through that revolving fund. And K, I think as you probably know from your conversations with the building commissioner, has gone and allows double from 40 to 80 based upon concerns about some of the developments that have already been filed. And that would allow for additional part-time assistance for inspectional services. Particular concern is, what they do. Municipal agreement, sort of, with Brockton, being signed, sealed, and delivered. He's concerned about activity that warrants additional part-time assistance. We're assuming that this will allow us to accommodate. So those are the 2 substantive differences on top of the format difference.
And he had requested that in his budget,
He had requested, yes, he did request.
from what I remember.
Right,
Yes.
we did not make accommodation in his operating budget, the accommodation is in the revolving fund, activity number, limitation.
So are they being hired July 1st?
I'm sorry?
You're hiring 2 more part-time people in the building department?
No.
No, we're not, no. We're
No,
not
the,
hiring, we're not
the,
hiring anybody. If activity, permit activity would drive the need for additional assistance, we would hire additional part-time hours as required. If the permit activity drives it, we'll add some hours incrementally as necessary.
So the
I believe the
amount they,
building commissioner would like us to, but,
the amount they used to have and be allowed to collect, so they charge fees and then they put it in the revolving account.
Right.
And so they used to be allowed to have 40,000, up to 40,000 in the revolving account. Doesn't mean that they would have 40,000, just means that if they collected, they could collect up to 40,000. Anything over that would have to go back to the general fund. Now, they're doubling that, so instead of being allowed to collect up to 40,000, they're now allowed to collect up to 80,000 through permit fees, in the hopes that if all that activity does happen, that then they could use some of the money that they're generating from these fees to pay the additional part-time hours for inspections and that kind of thing.
So just assuming that activity increases.
yes.
Right, so this isn't actual money that exists.
Okay.
Right now, it's just, they're allowed to bring in that amount through these fees.
Okay.
So they're charging like a user fee.
Okay.
And then it can collect, and it could come up to $80,000.
Okay.
If they're saying if they see all this activity due to the sewer, increased sewer capacity, then they would want to use some of that money they collect from the fees to cover part-time hours for someone to be doing those inspections.
Mr. Adams obviously was looking for some additional assistance, hoping, based upon he's convinced that the activity's coming. I don't think any of us are ready to make an assumption just yet. So
So the-
this is kind of a reasonable approach, increase the activity, that the account is legally able to accommodate.
Oh, I see.
But it may never.
If it happens,
It could be closer to 40 every time.
and fine, we'll allow, it to increase the part-time assistance that is able to be paid through this account. We can stay within the department, and we'll take it 1 year at a time and see what happens.
So the way it is now, the rest of the money raised through permits, fees,
It's
what have
currently
you.
is 40,000.
But-
Currently the cap on this account is 40,000.
The cap.
So that's all it's
The,
allowed.
the
Right,
amount
so-
that
so-
that account can go up to.
Yeah, I understand that. But, so currently, the rest of the money taken in by the building department in the form of fees pays everybody else's salary that is currently working there?
Goes to the
Based on,
general fund.
Plumbing, wiring, inspector, part-time zoning assistant, that all is paid through the revolving fund, yes.
So it's
Marshall's
almost like
salary
the,
and, the full-time clerical administrative assistant help is paid through the budget. So this pays for the part-time assistants are all paid through the revolving fund. So if he needs additional part-time support, professional support for inspectional needs, this should accommodate that if he needs it. That's the goal of this account.
Okay.
I see what
So
you're asking, though.
the department, can I just ask this?
Yep.
The department isn't just totally self-funded?
No, it's not, no, 'cause Marshall and part-time, and the full-time administrative assistant, those are in the budget.
Okay.
So the part-time
And then, but the fees and what have you do currently pay the rest of the people?
Correct,
And there's a little surplus
correct.
that is increased now to 80,000, and anything over that 80,000 goes to free cash?
Well, we'll go to the general.
General.
General fund.
If that should even happen, again, this is,
Mm.
if, we know.
Does it usually go over 40,000?
Um,
Is there usually
I'd
money
have
that
to
goes
get-
to the general
I'm
fund?
not sure exactly what this, I don't believe it's been, I don't know what there's been significant surplus.
So I'm wondering, is it possible that there would be 80,000 total?
I don't know. I think, we'll put it this way, Marshall was thinking there could be a lot more, but he's concerned. There are some subdivisions, some plans that have been filed,
Mhm.
Randolph Street.
Yeah.
Being one of them. He's just don't know. That's the question, how fast and furious the plans come in, we just don't know that. So, and the other thing too is, just like when we put our budget together and we have to come up with our tax rate and certify a tax rate, we have to come up with an estimated 2.5 plus new growth, plus our estimated receipts. And we have to justify that to the Department of Revenue. We have to do the same with all these revolving funds. So, this all has to pass the smell test of the Department of Revenue too. So we can't just throw a massive number here. We have to justify this to the Department of Revenue. So we can't throw some outlandish number, $150,000, $200,000. So we have to be within some realm of plausibility here too when we set our revolving fund numbers. So
That's why I'm
we think-
wondering if it usually goes above 40, if 80 is.
Yeah, well, 40
reasonable.
Customarily, I haven't spent a lot of time on this myself, but these are tracked every year by the town accountant. If those numbers weren't justifiable every single year when we set our tax rate, there's no way we would have, this would have come back to us in, over the years already, so. I can certainly get you,
No,
follow up with you on this.
I understand, I was just,
Rob,
yeah.
about, so, again, we can't just throw numbers in the wall, we have to be based on some sense of reality. And the fact that we already have some reason to believe that activity is going to be increased to some extent, it leads us, increasing this to some extent, doubling it, a revolving fund cap is significant. We have some reason to believe we can do that without having an issue with the Department of Revenue. If we were going to go do some outlandish number, Marshall obviously would have liked to have no cap, but that's not what we're going to do with Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I think I was gonna say, I think when he was here, he was saying that he currently is having a hard time keeping up with, with the inspections, with the help that he does or doesn't have. There was
Yes.
things that, it was,
There's a lot of
He
zoning
was-
too, not just buildings, it's zoning, yeah.
but, so I was gonna ask, could you just get us the numbers, what's in that revolving account, currently? And then we can kinda get an idea of, thank you.
Any other questions on the revolving funds? All right. Article 5, $14,000 for student transportation services to out-of-district vocational schools. It's mandated that we pay to transport students.
So that's not already in the school department budget?
Okay. Other questions there? Article 6 is the Community Preservation Act. We are going to have representation from the Community Preservation Committee come to a meeting. I will invite them for next Wednesday, if we are available for next Wednesday to meet.
Yeah, I think we all have some questions.
Yes. I don't think that town manager is necessarily the right person to be asking those questions of, so. We will not bother assailing you with those at this time. Article 7, property surpluses. And I saw a list in the information that you had mailed to us of properties.
We have that much neater too.
Could you explain this one a little bit?
Or give the highlights.
Highlights. Many months ago, I went to the committee to look through the inventory of town land, especially in light of the fact that there were some properties, schools and so on, that they were surplus. And we spent many months, many meetings, put together a list of properties they believe that they use for, give the board, and surplus, there's approximately 50 properties, some of them are postage stamps, some of them are those that are bought residential, some of them are residential properties that are other sales. But the bottom line is, recommending to the they have agreed that they should be in surplus, whether or not the board of which essentially allows, if they declared surplus by town meeting, it simply allows the board of selectmen to make them available for sale. Doesn't mean you have to, it just means it's available for sale. For instance, the surplus schools that are surplus by the town, by the school department, but they still have to be declared surplus by town meeting. That's what those action items necessary. Most of those are around that. So, in the back of the tax rolls, like I said, a lot of them would probably just be no value to anybody but others.
Thank you. Any questions?
Well, I have a question, but probably something,
On the surplus land committee, by the way.
yeah, so it's probably something you can't answer, but I'm wondering how pieces of land that apparently aren't buildable, if they're only of value to abutters, how did all of those come about?
Yes, I
Yeah,
can't. Go back generations, I
they've just been held for a long time. Okay.
Is there a lot of situations where it's kind of like landlocked? You know how we had that with the, with, Porkies, where it's kind of like, there's no access to it, or it's right at the, Ames Knoll, thank you. Like, some of those properties are, like,
The chairman of the surplus land committee is the person.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to be able to answer it, it just occurred to me.
Who is
as
that?
I was-
is it like a committee
Yes.
made up of?
James Dombrowski is the chairman. It's made up of,
Has the state paid us for that parcel of land yet?
No, they haven't purchased it yet, there's title issues.
It's still going on, okay.
In fact, one of the articles on here addresses that.
I believe that's 2 articles away.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions on the surplus land? Article 8. Authorizes the Board of Selectmen to establish a senior citizen property tax work-off. Is this just changing the rate?
No.
Changes the amount
Yep.
of the program that's already in place from 500 to 600, to offset the fact that as of last year, it's taxable. And for those people that are on the
Makes a difference.
There's already a hardship. So
Right.
it's $3,000 to the program that's funded through the Illinois Reserve. So that's $3,000 to the entire program. Um, We think it's a good idea to alleviate what hardship it might have for those people.
What is the age that a senior is eligible at? 60? 60.
Yeah, you think.
I got 5 years to go.
The next one, Article 9, is the parcel of land on Chestnut Street that abuts Holmes Hall.
Right, and this is a proposal that basically taking it by eminent domain, this would be a potentially, if necessary, friendly eminent domain taking into an option that's proposed by town council if necessary. Problem is, well, not legally. Administrators on the need. Friendly, so this is all being done.
And money's not exchanging,
Well, there is, no, I mean, they haven't, but, so this is all, we've all been working together on this
To close the
for a
loops.
couple of years
Yes.
nicely. So this would potentially be done in a friendly eminent domain, if it comes to that. So, again, as you know, the state is prepared to purchase this from the town. A matter of the lawyers trying to do what it takes to get this done, with us expending as little as possible. The assessed value of this property is all is what the state is able to pay us. So the assessed property is in the $50,000 range. So needless to say, we want to spend as little as possible
To get this done.
legally to make this happen, you know.
And it's 45 acres?
Essentially,
it's like,
It's-
dead land,
wetlands.
can't get in there,
Yeah.
can't build on
It's
it.
wetlands that borders Ames
It's
Mill.
all, it's literally surrounded by Ames Mill Estate.
Yeah. Other questions? All right, Article 10, create a health insurance trust fund.
Yes, that's, this year would be self-insured for a health insurance program. It's an health insurance trust fund, which would be recommended being for us to do that.
Hmm.
Ourselves, which we distribute. Employees from the town, putting trust fund, which we distribute.
Because we're not, we've
Because we
backed out of
Mayflower.
the Mayflower Health. And so we're going out on our own with,
Well, at the moment, we're self-insured. On our own, next year, hopefully, we'll get for 19.
Sean?
Not to be hyper picky, you, self-insured implies that your first dollar loss is coming out of the town of Abington's pocket. And so that's what we are doing. Who's the fronting carrier? fronting carrier, somebody has to be the face of the insurance. It's not the town of Abington knows my health insurance card.
Yes, the health, Deb Libby's one. Blue Cross Blue Shield. Administrator.
Article 11, $5,000 for health imperatives, violence intervention and prevention, formerly a new day. This is one that is typically on our warrant every year. Any questions? Article 12. Access and easement utility. Access and utility easement
Is the
next to the
petitioner-
senior center.
My understanding is the petition is proposed senior housing development behind the senior center, which will allow homeless improvement, access to the senior center, both convenience and those who live there. I don't know if you do know that.
Do you know who the petitioner
It's
is?
only what I believe it's Glen Point. If that's not the case, I apologize. Informally told.
Which side is the westerly side as you're looking at the building from the street? I'm just curious.
I believe it would be heading
Back.
back towards Route
18 would be towards the railroad tracks, if you're looking at the, right?
I think so, because isn't the dog park going up and back on the other?
Thank you, I think that's.
I think so, because the dog park, I think, is going up. If you're looking at the senior center building, I think the dog park is here, so that has to go up this,
My wife would
Where are
tell
you
the
standing when
direction
you're
is
looking
not
at?
the greatest.
on Summer Street, looking
Where the
at.
front door is north
Uh,
and the back door is
It's the
south.
side.
You're looking at it that way?
Yeah, no.
I think,
No, so the,
see, I think the front door is.
Rudy Tane's way over.
Yeah.
If you go more towards the water department, I think is
Sewer department.
sewer department, sorry, sewer department. That, you're saying that that would be westerly.
I think so.
So it's the.
So the driveway.
Yep, I think so. I don't know that that is
I'm just
it.
wondering, I mean, it
If
doesn't
that- if
even
that-
matter,
If that
I'm
is
just curious.
westerly, then.
It's a riddle.
Because isn't that the piece of land that either the Legion or somebody had thought about? No, it wasn't the Legion, there was another. The
VFW.
veterans?
The
The VFW, wasn't that the piece that the VFW might have wanted at one point, to put a VFW center or something up there? I think they came to the town, I think it's that side.
That's the opposite.
By petition.
The next one's by the town manager. if that-
Sometime my name gets on. And this is, there's currently an easement, this is just actually a slight adjustment to the existing easement. As Engrid. That is actually really abutting, right on the.
Rockland.
Rockland line now. For current maintenance of the existing facilities.
Questions? Article 14. I'm going to vote to enact or chapter blank of the Abington bylaws.
This would effectively adopt the so-called stretch code.
And this is one of the ones that they're still,
This is still undecided whether or not the selectmen are going to
Move forward with it.
remain on that warrant, which is, again, this is new to them. This is next circumvention of the existing building code of Massachusetts. And by adopting this short policy and some administrative work on behalf of the town, will affect the town's position to become a great community. Approximately 192 community protocol. So more than half. And which makes the town eligible for grants. Grants for energy and other upgrades. So,
And what, you said other than some administrative things
well,
and,
some energy audits and some energy upgrades, which not so much, energy policies, vehicle, use policies, energy efficiency policies, things like that.
so it can restrict some uses of, or the ways in which some,
Primarily, I believe, we would have to do some energy audits of buildings over the couple of years, which is not a bad idea. We would have to implement or adopt some energy efficiency policies, primarily energy efficient vehicle policies.
what are the costs associated with that?
Well, usually those tend to be when you replace your vehicles, non-emergency vehicles. You have to purchase energy efficient vehicles. There's usually, a number of those on the state bids to choose from. So
Do we currently have, are we currently
presumably you
purchasing?
would be doing that.
That's what
But some would suggest the problem is that you have to be, that it may, in theory, prevent you from passing down the old vehicles, junk cruisers, so to speak.
Right,
So I think you have to be cautious how you craft your policies. But I think you can work on it. I don't think 192 communities in the state have passing on vehicles because, so primarily it's a matter of, the main issues are, the zoning pieces we dealt with, adopting, the town's already dealt with, is adopting the zoning allowing for motor sites. We already have zoning that provides for not expedited permitting of those facilities, but it doesn't unduly prohibit, not expedited, but by right siting in a timely manner, energy efficient facilities, renewable energy facilities. This is the other major piece that would have to be done by the town meeting, and then those other, like I said, energy efficient policies, vehicle use policies, and then energy audits of our buildings, with some commitment to try and reduce our energy consumption by certain percentages over a period of time when we use our municipal facilities. So in theory, if the goal is to save money, not expend funds, that's the goal.
One more question.
Sure. go ahead.
Sorry.
Question
Go
from
ahead.
Peter.
Well, I was gonna say, after this one, the rest really aren't germane to the finance committee, right?
Perhaps.
They're
The next
talking
one
about
might be.
marijuana and
The next one with the water mains. But Barbara, your question.
So, one of the things that, this is new, obviously, the board of selectmen, the concerns tend to be, that there's an additional cost of construction. This applies primarily to new construction. The stretch code does, this is in addition to the building code, so-called, so the stretches the building code. Very related.
Yeah.
So, for new construction in your community, it would be additional requirements of the building code. So, it would add supposedly some cost to new construction.
So that was gonna be my
That's-
next
that's
question, how it would
usually-
affect, business, local business.
Yes, so those are some of the questions that we're trying to get answered for the Board of Selectmen for the meeting on next Thursday, a week from tomorrow night. And there's also, will be presumably to somebody who is purchasing an energy savings, that offsets the cost of their construction. So, again, there's 192 communities that have adopted this. So, presumably, there's a benefit that comes along with it, not just the money that comes into those communities for, to help with these energy upgrades and innovations they'd like to do within their government. So, but it is a policy decision, whether or not they keep it on the warrant and the town meeting vote is decided, or whether or not they're not ready for this yet. That's a question they're gonna Thursday. So, it's I mean, it's, we'd asked, this is generated really from, we've got a lot of new people on our SAGE committee in the last couple of months, and they've tried to kind of bring this to the floor in a fairly quick manner. So we did enlist the help of Old Colony Planning Council to do an audit of where we stood with regard to the Green Communities Act. That was one of the things that the SAGE group was looking to help us do. So so Old Colony Planning Council has reviewed our zoning, and they had to get some input from the CPA Coalition, and get some input from the Department of Secretary of State's office to see if they believe our current zoning did indeed meet the requirements of comply with the community president of the jurisdiction. I lost it.
Yeah,
Stretch.
And
The
so
stretch.
we've
Stretch
got those
code.
confirmations just fairly recently, so we didn't, so we weren't sure we were really in a position to move this along in a timely manner for this kind of meeting. So, so in fairness, it is a lot to ask to move this along this quickly, to get answers for not just the selectmen, but for the public in a timely manner. So, we don't want this to go to town meeting and be defeated.
right.
We'd rather, I don't even feel like our greed is, like, it's, on one hand, it's better to wait and get it done. On the other hand, I want to be true to the efforts of our SAGE group and make a good faith effort to try to move this forward. So it's kind of a, but you also don't want to put the leadership of the town, the board of selectmen, compromise the position. It's not fair to do, put people in a position.
Oh, if there's not enough information for the
Yeah.
public and, to be able to vote on something like that.
Exactly, that's not fair either, so we just make a good faith effort and, the selectmen are ready to move forward. For instance, Alex knows more personally about this than maybe other members of the board do. And I know he's a proponent of it. I've seen it in other communities. I feel comfortable with it. I'm in a community that is comfortable with it. So, for instance, like the CPA, this town adopted it. I've been familiar with it for 15 years. Why would anyone not be proponent of the CPA? Okay. Different people, different communities are in different places with it. It's that simple. It's really better to what they're experiencing. So, for whatever reasons. So, but again, we have a SAGE group that's with some people that are new, that have been trying to do a lot in a short period of time. For a lot of reasons, they were, they kind of hit a lull for a lot of reasons. They had some turnover, and now they're trying to move, and we're trying to support them. And the Old Colony Planning Council really worked hard in a short period of time, but it has been a short period of time. So we're trying.
So, can I just say something? So out of all that energy efficient vehicles and everything related to being a green community, this particular article is only concerning the stretch code, correct?
Yes.
Which actually doesn't really cost the town anything. The cost is on the new home builder and certain commercial construction projects, not even all of them. So it's, yeah, in actuality, the new home builder is spending about $3,000 more to meet the stretch code, but they get at least half of that back in rebates. So this particular article doesn't cost the town anything unless
Right, from a
you consider
governmental
that,
standpoint, you're right.
that maybe, okay, now the building inspector has a HERS rating report that he has to read, which that does cost him his time. So I guess that goes back to the new help, but this particular
He'll
article
be fine.
is only concerning the stretch code and doesn't really cost the town anything.
It's not a, it's really, it's not an issue from a governmental perspective, that's correct.
No,
That's not an
on
issue.
a large scale.
It's a policy issue in terms of.
It's a policy issue,
But it's not a-
right.
In fact, from a governmental finance issue, it brings money in the door.
It does.
When we become a green community, we probably bring approximately
Mhm.
$170,000 in government and state grants, almost immediately. Energy efficiency and other upgrades, and be eligible for annual grants from the state.
Right. And
But money's one thing, it's a
Yeah.
policy issue.
it would actually add to the building permit fee if you consider that it does cost about $3,000 more to build a house.
All right.
Just so we're clear.
Article 15, water mains. I don't know if anybody else has a different memory, but I don't remember the water chief talking about water mains when he was in here a week or so ago.
I was not here,
Oh.
so I definitely wouldn't remember it.
We would go over the articles, we was gonna wait till we had.
Okay. That's right. So, do we know
Maybe we can,
any amount of desperation on the water mains?
I don't know that it'd be a specific desperation.
this money comes from the,
Like Mr.
He's asking for it to be borrowed.
Callahan to me. Mr. Callahan knows.
Yeah, I think if he could come,
Issue in the meeting.
if he could,
is this from the water undesignated?
no, it's asking for
To borrow.
borrow.
Borrow. I recall he was
It was water
talking
undesignated.
at one point about doing a lot more. It may have been last year, so just continuing on.
So we'll have to ask him to come in also.
I think so, yes. And treasurer collectors, 16 and 17. Do not,
16 and 17 are both available authorization under the Municipal Modernization Act. 16 currently under an authorization, they have to go back and authorize the interest that are approved for particular authorization, apply to that authorization. 16 now allows you to, with one vote, do that once and have it applied to that forever. 16 now allows, this isn't one that allows you to do that retroactive now, so everything that's on the books. So you then have to do it again. This is what, that's what 16 does. So, as you can see, this one is.
quicker payment.
Yeah, this is a catch-up for everything that's on the books now, so you don't
Yep.
have to do it again. So 17 really has to do with, right now, you know, if you have a license, if you have, allows you, governing body, licensing board, this actually commemorates, and under the new law, how people actually do it. People check with the treasurer collector, the day before the issue of license and say, who's delinquent? And Joe's delinquent, okay, fine, we're gonna hold his license. This pretty much allows you to do what the law actually states.
Gives it some teeth.
So,
All right.
So this kind of updates, is asking the town to kind of update pursuant to the municipal modernization laws.
Good. Planning board, zoning, and planning.
Rest
We know
really
if
doesn't
any-
have anything to do
yeah,
with
the
that.
next-
These are some of the ones that.
Several,
Some of these are still
Questionable.
subject to board of selectmen's,
so I think we can wait on those. 23, you're still working on negotiations.
Yeah.
All right, any remaining questions on warrant articles?
Wait, how did we just get to the end?
Because none of them really have anything to do with us.
Were there ones that you wanted to go over?
I don't
in the-
know, I just-
In the planning and zoning
No, I just wanted to.
land? We kind
The
of
last
breezed.
one's the one that would apply to us, but it's incomplete.
Right.
I'm good right now.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Warrant articles before we move on? And we will, again, be going over these at our next meeting as well, leading up to making our recommendations for town meeting.
Which need to be made by the next meeting, correct? 10 days,
Check the schedule.
right? Wait a minute, I could be, we have 2 meetings, okay.
Yep.
I'm a
That's
week
what I-
ahead of myself.
That's what I thought.
So next Wednesday's the 3rd.
Yep, and then Wednesday, the 10th will be our
Okay, so
last
what do we
meeting
have,
that we
7
can make
days?
recommendations.
I won't be here.
No, from the 22nd, 10 days. So the 12th is when we have to have recommendations by.
Okay.
Is that correct, Deb? 10 days before town meeting, so by the 12th. So the meeting on May 10th. Oodles of time.
I don't know about that. but- Because we still need to have, just my concern is that we still need to have petitioners in.
Yes.
And discuss the articles, vote on them, and then we still need to discuss the budget and go over all of that and
Yep.
vote on that. So I wouldn't really call it oodles of time.
That was sarcasm.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
So with that said, any other questions on the warrants? Or statements, Sean? No statements?
I have an abundance of them, but
You're gonna hold
Wait
on?
for the oodles of meetings that we have.
All right. Liaison reports? No. Correspondence? We have a correspondence of Abington celebrates hometown cooking. Oh, for the love of food. Abington Celebrates Committee is happy to announce the launching of a community cookbook affectionately called Abington Celebrates Hometown Cooking. You know that food brings people together. What better way to bring community together than sharing food? Together we can make this incredible book, one incredible book to treasure. Have a favorite recipe to share? Great, we would love it. We hope to hear from residents, groups, churches, local clubs, etc., and local restaurants. In addition, if you have a fun fact or a bit of history to share about the recipe, 2 to 3 lines, we would love that too. Our hope is that the cookbook is not only versatile, but will also be a great keepsake to pass along to future generations. Recipe categories include, but are not limited to, appetizers, soups, salads, main and side dishes, breads, desserts, this and that. You get the idea. Send recipes by May 15th or questions to abingtoncelebratofood@gmail.com. And have a mailing from Chemical and Waste New England Disposal Technologies. And they are going to be at the Mass Buys Expo on April 27th.
Where is that?
Doesn't actually say. So
Well, then we can't
So
actually.
wherever the Mass Buys Expo is, if you want to stop by the New England Disposal Technologies booth, it is booth 476A. Have fun. So,
Okay.
and then that is all we have for correspondence. We do have 2 sets of minutes to review. We have the first set of minutes, very non-expertly prepared from the March 15th meeting. They were prepared by me. And Deb straightened them out and put them in the right format.
Motion to approve meeting minutes of March 15th.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? No discussion. All those in favor of approving? All those opposed? Sean, you can abstain because you were absent. And then we have meeting minutes from our April 12th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. Katie, you get to abstain on this one. All those in favor? Oh, yeah. Barbara's also abstaining. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? And that is all we have for minutes. Our next meeting will be next Wednesday, May 3rd, at 7 o'clock, with a meeting scheduled for the following Wednesday again, May 10th after that. And next meeting, we will ask for petitioners to come and join us if they are able to.
So are you going to contact
Yes.
petitioners or?
Yes, I'll work with Rick and Dory to contact the petitioners and get anyone that we can get here for next meeting.
Move to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all.